This Choircast podcast is brought to you by Winter Moon and Coffee Stain, poems and lyrics by Keith Giles. In this collection, author and poet Keith Giles has gathered some of his best poems and song lyrics into one volume. Written between 1980 and 2024, these poems span a variety of subjects ranging from love and loss to grief and restoration, and everything learned along the way. Winter Moon and Coffee Stain available now on Amazon.
Forget what they told you in Sunday school. God's not mad at you. You don't have to make America great again. And your spirituality doesn't have to look anything like theirs. Welcome to Evangelicalish with Paul and Ashley. We're untangling and unlearning what harms, reclaiming what heals, and searching for a new kind of 21st century spirituality.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're so glad that folks are joining in live. If you're listening to this on audio or on video later, thank you so much for tuning in. Paul and I love this time with each other and with the people who listen in. I mean, it is truly, it's just become a very special and kind of sacred thing that we like to do. My joy causes your pain. I wonder how many people saw that headline for this show this morning and we're like, oh yeah, those two. They have a lot to say about that.
Well, last week we made our live stream gang with us who we love that are here every Sunday, and you all can join us Sunday mornings, 9:00 Pacific live. They got a little nervous that we thought we needed some marriage counseling right in the midst of the show but I think, and maybe I'm not in a totally perfect view of us, but I think what we were displaying is like we're at a point in life where we just tell each other, hey, that sucks that you just said that, and that is very uncomfortable, I think, for particularly Americans, maybe all of Western European, you don't do uncomfortable things in front of each other, and certainly not in front of others.
Yeah, towards the end of the show last week, if you're watching these in sequence, you'll remember that towards the end, someone's like, "Ooh, marriage counselor time." We're like, "Yeah, y'all be it. This is us doing marriage counseling with people watching, or we're practicing the things that we have learned, shall we say? We're practicing the things that we've learned in therapy as individuals. We did have a short stint where we did couples therapy and had a really, really precious, insightful, talented woman. It was on Zoom, which is super cool that you can find people with all kinds of talents and specialties and expertise on Zoom now and with therapy. And there was a point where she was like, hey, you're not ready for couples therapy. You have to do individual work before you can then sit with each other and do your couple work. And I think about that moment a lot because I felt very discouraged then, but she wasn't wrong. This was probably, I'm going to say 2 years ago, maybe. Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago coming up this fall, and she wasn't wrong. And we kept doing our individual work, and here we are. Maybe this is round 2-ish marriage counseling session with Paul and Ashley.
So it kind of culminated into this week, into me being on a news story on our local CBS affiliate. And a wonderful reporter, human, named Brian got hold of me and said, hey, I really want to do your story. I've been asked, I was on this KMJ thing, one of our local radio stations, but I haven't really done a lot of.
Well, and we did talk about that. Remember on Ish when you went into that interview on the big, kind of political right, I would say Rush Limbaugh station, but, Rush Limbaugh's gone. But anyway, the station in our region that was the megaphone, the mega magaphone.
Megaphone, yes.
And you didn't know what you were going into. You thought this person was wanting to interview you about what you do online. And what it's like to be a podcaster, et cetera. And he went right in on, so you're trans now. Tell us about that. And you were like, oh, good. But you handled it well. Anyway, we talked about that. So you did radio, but now this week, a TV segment aired on local news.
Yeah. And it was, I think the difference is that, he came and said, I want to tell your story as a person having a life transitional journey of unconventional Pastor Paul, but also sort of the underlying human parts of this. And how do we say this? There have been moments in my process and journey as I've been in the midst of self-discovery and starting to learn that I have had a very negative self-view all of my life. And so now I'm trying to find, through meeting with my DID parts and doing a lot of therapy, I want to not be ashamed of myself anymore. And I want to be able to live and love myself. And that has meant a difference in the person that you married that is not always comfortable or your favorite thing that's happening in the world. Is that fair to say?
I would say that's an understatement. So I would say unfair only for that reason. That is an understatement.
Are you okay right now? I saw that deep breath. Okay, I want to make sure.
That was a dramatic.
Dramatic pause.
That was it. Yeah, that was a dramatic exhale. Yeah, that, like, oh my gosh, there's so many things, like so many points along the way in this journey that are surreal in some ways. And I think honestly, it was like 2 years plus for me to even kind of really fully realize all that was going on,
Yeah.
And anyway,
me too.
Well, that's, frankly, longer, I guess. But anyway, so here we are. This story airs. Wonderful. In fact, you should post it if you haven't already. Have you put it up on your on all your channels and stuff?
It's everywhere.
Okay, cool. So folks are seeing it, and it was a really, really lovely piece on your life and the hard things you're doing and the courage that you're showing and the vulnerability that you're showing for the whole world to see. And it was great. I got home from a work trip Thursday night. It had aired earlier that night. We watched it together. And I was like, yeah, that guy really did you a solid. He's being very respectful of your life. This is lovely. And then I start getting the supportive, 100% supportive texts and voicemails. Because folks who are, that I'm connected to that maybe aren't all the way read in and this has been a long journey. We've been in it for a little while, are understandably feeling so shocked. As the news story kind of paints the picture, Mr. Fresno, sports guy.
I don't think I ever was Mr. Fresno.
I wondered about that line, to be honest. I was like, but do you think, is that a first man kind of thing? Like you were mayor to mayor? Is that what that is?
I think he's just putting it together with I was on TV and
okay. And Fresno State.
But I thought, my official, not official title of the city of Fresno was the first dude of Fresno.
Yeah, you tried that. It didn't stick. You worked hard to get people to refer to you as that. It didn't stick.
No, they did. You just
they did.
No, I didn't.
I missed it. Okay.
Yeah. I was on radio every day for 3 hours, and so I could make it stick.
You worked it.
Yeah. The little side road story. I think it was the day after you got elected as mayor of our city.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the radio, but I went to work. It was foggy, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And I would go to work at 5:45 in the morning. So there was nobody on the road. And I stop at a little light at a nondescript intersection near my radio station. And the light goes through 2 cycles and doesn't give me a green. And so eventually I just run the red light. And when I get on the air, I'm like, gosh, you think, my wife's, the mayor-elect of Fresno, I should be able to get through a effing stoplight. And the next thing I know, like, somebody in charge of traffic for the city had called the radio station to find out like what had happened.
Power abuse.
Yeah.
Power abuse. That's too funny. Or like the time when somebody TP'd our house and I called the police chief. Power abuse. Anyway.
Well, we didn't call because of the TP though. We called because it looked like there was a car parked across the street waiting to do something to us, that was
a whole nother. There were several times
that was the TP night. But anyway.
Anyway, we're super off topic.
Okay. Yeah.
So anyway, so I start getting the supportive, and I truly mean I'm grateful, like people checking in, how are you? And so then I'm sharing that with you of like, oh, so and so called, and
wait, from my perspective, the messages were, oh my goodness, are you okay? I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm here for you. That's a little different than just like, hey, story ran.
Well,
you're doing okay. In my book, from my perspective.
Also, you're hearing that through your filter. It wasn't quite that.
The new Substack is here. You heard it. Unconventional Pastor Paul has a new Substack page, and you don't want to miss it.
It's where I'm sharing daily, deep thoughts, prayers, and insightful content, where the manhood of God is being stolen.
Where Charlie Kirk can finally learn what a woman is.
And a monster at the door can be monstrously beautiful and powerful.
If that's not enough, you can read my political blog on the Collective website, where we believe in the power of independent media to challenge oppression and fight fascism.
Sacred Rebellion and the Collective, live inspired as we journey into this 21st century spirituality together.
If Jesus were in America today, what would he say about the right-wing evangelical church? Pastor Paul's new novel, Religious Right, Religiously Wrong, a modern-day parable, answers this question in a riveting story of a mysterious miracle-working stranger who upsets a conservative, evangelical town with his critique of their political views. Will the pastor and people of the local megachurch listen? Or will the church crucify the messenger all over again? Religious Right, Religiously Wrong is the story America needs right now. James Fallows, writer for The Atlantic and former speechwriter for President Jimmy Carter, says Paul's book is very much worth reading and could not be more timely. Wayne Jacobson, co-author of the mega bestseller, The Shack, says this novel will confront fears and challenge the reader to a more excellent way of living and loving. Religious Right, Religiously Wrong, a modern-day parable, is available on Amazon or at our website, Evangelicalish.com.
Truth cop here. I think that was, that to me feels like it came through, obviously, a filter for you.
I remember a voicemail pretty distinctly that you played for me, and
it
was I'm here for you, whatever you need. Yeah.
No. Anyhow,
yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'll have to listen to it together again.
We have a dispute. This is a gray. We have a dispute over whether it was light or medium gray. So like, no big deal. Anyway,
this is what it is. This is what our topic is. It's like I'm hearing this, you're hearing that. And is it, am I hearing it through a filter, or are you trying to like placate the situation? And so this is really our topic for today. What happens when my joy causes your pain? And I'm not just saying me to you, but just in general in relationships, because we have a lot of people in our audience who have deconstructed, left religion, have Trumpy relatives, and it's been the same. Like, I'm doing the thing that's healthy for me, and that causes my Trump family people pain, and they're like, why are you being an asshole, and all of those things.
It's like a ripping apart, I think we're not to go too meta too quickly, but I do think we're living through a season of like things being ripped apart. I mean, I think I no, I didn't. But Richard Rohr's latest book, The Tears of Things, like he talks about the Old Testament prophets kind of living through a similar time. And we should talk about that another, like that's a really good book just to talk
Well,
about. But anyway, so
I think what it is, and what we talk about a lot on, I think you're right. If there is some overarching purpose for all of this era, which we might just call the Trump era, but it's not just Trump at the
yeah,
center of
oh
it,
God,
is
yeah.
what we talked about the apocalypse. The apocalypse
Mm,
isn't
mm,
a big war in Israel. The
mm-hmm.
apocalypse in the Bible, apocalypse literally means the revealing or the
Right,
unveiling, and
right.
this season has ripped that America, we're okay veneer off of things, and all of us are like, oh shit, we're really not okay, and we really never have been, but we were really good at
Yes.
covering it up for a long time.
And okay, so I don't want to go too, I want to stay focused on kind of you and me and interpersonal, but
Okay, pull it back.
right. But I do think democracy is important. Anyway, um,
Well,
all right. So
but again, that's not just democracy. That's families getting ripped apart and everything. Don't give me that look. Go. All right, go.
okay. Well, I don't have that much more to say, but we're just kind of teeing this up to where, like, okay, the story ran, it was lovely. I get these messages of like, are you okay? Are you okay? And then I kind of start going like, I don't know, am I? Like, I thought I was, but like, oh, I don't know. And like processing other people's concern um shifts me, and then that shifts you, and then all of a sudden we're on Ish talking about it like 24
Yeah.
hours later. So that's the history of arriving at this moment.
And I would say I saw that shift in you, that I'm already in cringe mode, like, oh, how is Ashley going to respond to this story? And you were like, oh, that was really good, and I really felt your sincere enjoyment of the story. Like I had a friend send me a message and like, you probably saved somebody's life today. You
Mhm.
probably saved a life.
That's
You
amazing.
and Brian doing that story. And that's where you were. And then I saw the change, like, oh, other, what I characterize throughout our relationship as what are people going to say? What are people going to think? Rather than how are we doing in our dynamic, which is I guess I could say a trigger for me. I don't know if it's quite as much as it used to be, but when I am built because of how I lived in my childhood household with a raging, crazy person. Crazy person's a bad word, but I'll just use that as a characteristic. I had to be making sure that person was okay at all times, because if that person was not okay, I'm not okay. And so sometimes we call that like people pleasing, or fear of man is a nasty put
Oh,
down in the
that's
Christian
a
world.
real good
Yeah.
Bible bullet right there.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
what it is a survival mechanism that says, I need to know when this out of nowhere crushing of my spirit is about to come. And so I carry that with me as an adult, and that is onto, I'm watching you. Is Ashley okay? If Ashley's not okay, I'm not okay. And so that's the dynamic that starts to play in these things. It's not just what's happening in front of us. It's this way we've been taught to live socially. And it is an evolutionary survival mechanism. I have to survive. I may die if Ashley's not okay. That's literally the trauma feeling inside.
Well, and in couples therapy, you hear it a lot, like the dance, like that's the dance, because then when you come on with that, then like that triggers me. So then we're in our like infinity loop of, like managing each other, being mad that the other's triggered, that triggering. I mean, it's just like blah, 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 blah. So there we go.
And,
Yeah.
I am in a place where I've really had to fight to like be oh, what if somebody sees me and they think I look weird? What if somebody from my past life, and I've had to really wrestle with that and have, I think, done a pretty good job of overcoming that. But then I have to face it through you. And that just feels like I don't have this extra energy to do this thing I've already done. And, that's part of the dance.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like sort of dealing with what do acquaintances think, or even strangers. That's so much easier to work your way through, compared to the people who are closest in, whether it's in your household or your like extended family. That for sure is the hardest of the hard.
If I can go just a little bit side route. So I wrote a Substack about this experience and looked at it from a societal lens, not our interpersonal. And so the side road society, like, I think this indicates a societal issue, that people see the story, see me sharing that I'm in self-discovery, I'm letting myself live authentically, which is kind of the name of the story. And people see that from the outside as a tragedy. Oh, Ashley. Oh my goodness. And by the way, like, I don't think I had anybody reach out to me and say, "Are you okay?"
Well, but also you were the hero of that story, and you got a lot of positive feedback about the story. So
I got a lot of super negative feedback about the story too.
I know, but what you say is like water off a duck's back, and like you're expecting that. So I don't know that the reaction, like a person who would care for you and be like, the reaction wouldn't be, "Are you okay?" The reaction was like, "Yeah, that story championed you." So they're like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's call that out for a second. It's not like people were inattentive to you.
Well, people we both know reached out to you and not to me. And again, I think every person that reached out to you did it out of the goodness of their heart. We are, even if we think we're the most woke person in the world, we're still swimming in the boiling pot of American religious principality soup.
Culture. It's like it is the water we swim in.
Somebody who maybe loves us both sees that and says, "Oh my God, I hope Ashley's okay. This is so horrible and tragic." And I think that says something just about where we are as a culture, that even good people are still like, "Oh, this is horrible, tragic." And I totally get that there are reasons to feel that way, but it also, I think, is, I think there are people who see this and say, "Oh, this is amazing." And it's amazing that these two are doing it together. So there's a dynamic of that view.
Yeah, I do. I get a lot of feedback. And when I say a lot, I mean, I don't mean like every single day or whatever, but when like people who are close enough in to talk with me and to be in like a weekly kind of cadence of conversation, their concern for me over the last 4 years has been, are you taking care of you? Is Ashley taking care of Ashley? Or is Ashley just going along with something because she's afraid of, disrupting her family and all these things? And I would say that for anybody who's watching this right now and wondering that, because we're focusing on Paul's journey so much in this conversation this morning, I would say it's taken me a while to get to the point where the answer to that is yes. And the like behind the doors conversations with Paul and I are really painful for both of us, but I will acknowledge and affirm, especially for Paul. I think a lot of times publicly I get seen as the the person who's being sympathetic to spouse. And I think behind the scenes, it's more like I'm prosecuting a case, and Paul feels that as such. And so, just like full candor and transparency, that to me is the dynamic. And so I have had to work through to get to the point where kind of my inside voice and my private time with Paul is more aligned with what I represent publicly. Is that do you think that's a fair
Yeah,
assessment, Paul?
yeah. I think it's very fair, and at times I've voiced this, that, oh, you get to be the hero. You get to go out to coffee with people, and they're like, oh, look at you. You're
Yeah.
still there. You're still in the house. Wow.
Also,
As if
I am pretty awesome.
You are pretty awesome. But it's, so to me, that is like, oh, Paul is this huge problem in your life. And
Yeah.
aren't you amazing to stay with them as a human being. Wow. I also do want to say, and you can tell me if this is fair, I think the number one person that has, well, maybe not number one, but I have spent a lot of time saying, Ashley, are you trying to figure out what you want in all of this?
That is true.
I'm not asking you to go along. I'm asking you to really think about what you want.
Yes, that is true. But I will also say, kind of, it's painful when it comes from you. It has been painful when you're the one, like, that has not, like, I know that has come from a place of generosity in your heart. But in the times when you were saying it, it's like I wasn't ready to hear from my husband of that point, 28, 29 years. Like, you go, like, what do you want? That was not comforting initially. I have worked through my own stuff to get to the point where I receive that as generosity, but just so you know.
Well, let's dig into that a little more. What was the pain in that? And I heard a little bit of it in how you characterized it there with your portrayal. But what was the pain for you?
That, well, I mean, like, I'm just repeating what I just said. I think I've already communicated this, that a person who I've committed my life to saying to me, like, hey, I really want you to just find what you want and need. And when you're sitting there thinking, like, well, listen, buddy, I am in this relationship because I love you, and I actually thought that you were the person that I wanted and needed and loved. And now you're saying, like, no, go. You do you. That was not, at the time, I couldn't hear you. You know what I mean? Like, it took me a while. And
there's a part of me right now going, I never said that. I never went, oh, you go, you do you, ever. That's a part of me wants to say that's a mischaracterization, but I accept the reality that that's how
it came through my filter.
Yeah,
1,000%. That's how my broken glass filters received that. Like, it went through painful places. So anyway, and that's why I can say I do for sure now understand. And honestly, it is one of the things that makes you so remarkable to me. You have always been that person in my life who was really, really, really pretty damn selfless in our relationship. And that is why you've been safe for me for all these years, So I receive it now, but I'm just telling you, at the time, I was like, no, actually, I want you to fight for me and want me too. And anyway, that was more a me thing than a you thing.
I think that's beautiful that you share that from that perspective. And I think that can be helpful to people, because what I was trying to say is, I totally get that you're like, I married this person. I want our life to be like it was. And I'm trying to say, it's not like it was before. And I think this happens in a lot of marriages and a lot of relationships. Like, we're not the same people we were in our 20s when we got married. And so I'm trying to be very honest to like, okay, we're not in that same space. And I know your life history, and I don't think that you've been socialized to think about, oh, what does Ashley need in the middle of this? Now, you may have had your ways of trying to get what you need that weren't always healthy or whatever, but nobody ever said to you, what is it that you want? And then from my perspective, like, okay, you say you want this. If that's not available, then you really need to start to think, what do I need to do for me? And I totally get why that felt like rejection to you. So again, this is trying a healthy, honest dynamic sometimes is super painful.
So painful. So fucking painful. I just think we've been such a case study for like codependency. And I'm doing this with my hands. If you're listening on audio and you don't see the video, I'm like interlacing my fingers. It's like, you feel like you're like, and then just you're kind of one big messy blob, and then you're just like ripped apart, and you become, my sister, who's a social worker, used these words, individuating. I remember, so anyway, like codependency, I think, is among the very painful things that we've had to walk through, or like healing through that. I once had this visual when I was kind of thinking about the codependency I felt about my mom, that we were like conjoined twins. And I just had this image. I was actually praying about this one time, and I had this image in my mind of, a conjoined twin, like a newborn conjoined, you see, like, I don't know, probably it was soon after. No, but do remember that movie about Ben Carson?
Oh yeah.
Gifted Hands. It was around the time that movie came out. So Gifted Hands comes out, and I'm dealing with all kinds of painful situations with my mom, God rest her soul, my beautiful spiritual, love my mom. Anyway, it's like I was seeing these images, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, if these newborns had all the brain functioning of adult people, and they were aware, if you could sort of like adultify these babies are sitting there thinking like, hey, you know what? This is all we know. Sure, our heads are connected, but it's all we know. So when here comes that surgeon's tool, and if they were actually, like awake and could process this, they'd be like, this is the worst idea anybody has ever had, to separate me at the head from this, the only thing I know. It is excruciatingly painful.
This is such a good analogy, and I'm in so much pain right now.
Yes, it is. I've used this now for like 20 years to describe the feeling of being seared apart from a codependent relationship. But the thing of it is, there's no way to know it when your head is just connected to someone. You can't know that you're going to be better off. Healthy, whole people can have healthy, whole relationships, but inappropriate ties that are holding each human being back do need to be healed. And that is a big part of what you and I have needed to work on.
That is like so good. That is so good. That is such a great picture of codependency. We think we are doing something kind for the other person.
Right. Sure, share my brain. Sure, share my kidney. Yeah.
Yeah, take my self-image from me, take my self-love from me. That's how we survived.
You. Yeah.
I think you always see the people who have been married for like 50 years. What's the secret? And I always think the answer ought to be like, we're both massively codependent, and and that's how we.
To be honest, we pretty much hate each other and we're codependent. We don't know what else to do.
And we're the Bible keeps us from killing each other, so we stay
divorcing.
Together.
We can't divorce and we can't kill.
Well, and that's part of what we've been walking through. Is like, does this mean in our society, we're not who we were, so let's get divorced, let's have this terrible process, expensive process, this emotionally gut-wrenching process of watching my friends go through it? Or can we can we sit down as adults and say, okay, where are we together and what does that mean? And I think the divorce thing is like, okay, we're going to rip this massive bandage off and it's going to hurt real fucking bad.
Yeah.
But we'll be over it in like real fast. And instead we've chosen the like, we're gonna take 1,000 paper cuts on an ongoing basis.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I would not land right there.
Okay.
I don't think we chose to paper cut. I think we're choosing to heal together and in proximity with each other. And it has for sure at times has felt like 1,000 paper cuts. But I would say we're not like, oh, let's choose paper cuts. It's like we're like, let's work through the fact that there are paper cuts because we want to journey through the conjoined twin surgery and like live on the other side and be twins. No, I don't know. The analogy falls apart.
No, you're right. All analogies do. But I think what's beautiful about what you're saying, Ben, is, and what we're trying to communicate, I think even through doing this podcast together, is we're in a really fucking messy place in our life together.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have to be tragic. You know, the outside in is people going, oh, Ashley, oh, are you okay? And I totally understand that. But that also is a societal thing where, oh, we don't like messy. We would rather be codependent because it's so much cleaner and neater than to go through the mess of like asking each other, what do you need in this moment?
Yeah.
That may not be what I want to hear.
And so I think this maybe and I put Doug on the left's comment up for just a second that says, it sounds like Paul is concerned about being a burden for changing and evolving. Nailed it.
100.
I mean, 1,000%. Going to sort of the meta themes of our conversations on Ish, and like just thinking about what forms and shapes our contemporary culture so much, and it's been true for a long time in the US and Western society. Like, I think this is where like sort of churchifying and doing religious practice distinct from mental health. And I wish there were better words because mental health sounds very clinical. And what I mean is like more emotional, individual emotional well-being. You know, we've like, because we're over here in the religious culture instead of the emotional well-being, although, and I'm cutting myself off, but I mean, clearly there's a huge difference today. The very fact that we can talk about this, that we can name this, that we have more insights, skills, tools, like, I mean, that's a huge evolution. So, you know, shout out for human beings and mental health professionals and others that have just like fallen forward and created a groove to the point where now it's like we can actually kind of realize the distinction between these two. In my lifetime, that absolutely was not true, you know, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever.
Well, and yeah, that's really well said. And to Doug's point, there is a thing of like being true to ourselves and walking this journey out. Like, who am I to do this if it makes the people closest to me uncomfortable or unhappy? Do I get to make people unhappy around me? That is a huge existential question in all of this. And I actually pulled a Bible reference for it, if I can go theology for 1 second.
Wait, hold on. I have to brace myself for a Bible verse on Ish. Hold on. Okay, I'm holding on to the desk. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. In Matthew 12, there's a moment, and we don't know exactly what was going on, but we know that Jesus was talking in front of a group, and somebody in his group comes and says, hey, your mom and brothers are here, and they want to talk to you. So this is the Virgin Mary, James, who would eventually be the pastor of the Church of Jerusalem. They are there, and I've heard it told, like, they are embarrassed by what Jesus is doing to their family name. in being, this guy preaching these things, and that they may have been there to like do what a family would do. You're dishonoring our family. We're here to get you. We're going to take you home, and we're going to get you back on track. That may or may not have been happening, but that's how I read the story. And so Jesus doesn't say, okay, Mom, I'm going to honor my mother and father. I'll come with you. Jesus doesn't say, F off. What he does say to the person that comes to him, he says, wait, my family is here. These people are my family, the ones that believe in me and believe in my purpose and who are supporting me in walking towards the journey that I'm supposed to walk in. Jesus in the story says that about the Virgin Mary. He says, no, she doesn't get to take me off track from where I'm supposed to be going. That doesn't mean he doesn't love her. We see that later she's at the cross in the story, and he makes sure she's taken care of. He says, John, this is your mom. He's saying, my mom is now part of your family. Take care of her. So it wasn't and they may have had a cleaving in relationship, and they didn't have internet and phones and things to talk. But he says, no, I don't have to go with my mom just because she's uncomfortable with me. I have to go towards my purpose. And if my mom doesn't like that, even the Virgin Mary, I got to let her deal with that. That's her thing to carry. My thing is to keep going towards what I'm supposed to go towards. So is that analogous to our conversation?
Well, sure. It's just that, okay, so it would be easy to take that story and be like, see, rip relationships apart, just go do your purpose, like I think it boils it down a little too much, because I feel like what we're trying to do here, and Doug's on the left says he can't place my emotions, which we'll come back to that in a second, but like we're trying to walk forward together towards purpose in a way that is honoring and healing of one another, and the precious relationship and the relationships that flow from our relationship. Like we value that so much that we're like trying to hold this together, be like hold this healthy, loving relationship together. Does that make sense? So it's like, I get a little, I feel like, Jesus, I'm sure, like, that story, there's so much that was going on that we don't see in the words. It wasn't captured. And so I just don't want to communicate this like no matter what, like pull the pin, live your purpose, and be devastating to people.
Well, again, I would argue that that's not what I said from the story.
Okay.
Like I made very clear that he was taking care of his mom at the end of his life. So I think what you're saying is exactly right. And that, it's not a story that I'm telling people, oh, just go rip relationship. And that's
Okay.
what it is.
Okay,
is
good.
you may have to cleave relationships sometimes. That may be true.
Yeah.
And you get to do that if that's what you need to be safe. We are choosing to walk it out together and say, is there a way to not have to just chop it off? But if two people are willing to be honest with one another and really hear one another, even when it's painful, we keep walking it through. So no analogy is like, this is 100% of the reality of what it is.
Yeah.
But the point of the story that I don't want to get lost is for somebody out there to say, do I get to do something that's good for me, but painful for people around me? And I think that story is a big affirmation of, yes, there's going to be times you have to make a decision in life to be emotionally well or spiritually well or healthy. Yeah. That is not going to be what the people around you wish would be your choice.
Okay. I'm understanding and tracking. Good. I think that, I feel like, I don't think people understand Because when you speak into your microphone on a camera, you come off very big and assertive and dominant. Are you aware of that?
You tell me that. I don't know how else to act, and
It's
I
good.
have to be,
I know I'm not.
I have to be Paul here. My other parts don't
There's
come to the
Paul.
show.
That's it. There's Paul. And so what I don't think people understand is there are other parts or other aspects of you that are so gentle and tender and, yeah, for sure, I mean, traumatized and burdened in some cases, and walking through that when you say these words, like, it has taken a tremendous amount of courage and like healing, and I've seen it, the choice has been, I actually would prefer to be dead, but I'm not going to do that. Even though I've given it a real serious thought, it could be just better for everybody if my life was extinct, if this version of me was extinguished, but I'm not going to do that. And so I choose to do these really hard things so that I can live and that I can be my best self, and so that I can be in relationship with the people I care most about. That's the 360 on you.
Yeah.
And so I'm just adding, right? I'm just adding to the picture, adding to the flavor once again, so that people can understand. It's, like, if you are in a situation where you are navigating your own individual mental health and what you need to do to live and to care for you, no matter how painful it is for others, like, this is a very tender, careful, difficult, and courageous path forward. It's not real black and white. It's pretty sloppy.
Yeah. That is, you're absolutely right. For me, it came down to a very legitimate thought of, if I were to exit this world that I don't think I ever have fit in, and trigger warning to talk about ending of a life thoughts, that would really, this was the thought process in this, like, that would really, really hurt my children, but they'd get over it, they'd move on, and I wouldn't be an ongoing embarrassment. Or we do this really shitty hard work.
Yep.
Where I feel like a problem over and over and over, and have to keep doing the hard, gut-wrenching work of telling myself, no, this is okay. And in fact, I've come to believe it's something really good that's going to benefit my lineage and our lineage. So, gosh, thank you for bringing up that point, because it really was like, am I going to live, or am I going to exit this world? And there were moments where that was really, really in the balance.
Yeah. And for the first time in my life, because I've never been so up close to to somebody who felt like that was going to be the right choice for them. Oh, like, yeah, I remember multiple times just thinking, I would hate if you chose that, but if you did, I would understand it. And I've never thought that before, like, people who make that choice, like, gosh, it's so devastating. It's just, I don't even want to try to represent anything other than what I know I thought. It's just like,
well,
if I come home someday and I'm not sure when I walk in the door what I'm going to find, if the worst happens, I will understand why.
Yeah.
Because it's that painful. It's that hard.
I've heard preachers in sermons say suicide is the most selfish thing you could ever do. And that is bullshit. That is somebody who doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yes, and I don't want to glamorize or
I don't either.
heroize.
But you sometimes you overfix what I'm saying.
I know, and that's why we're so great together. You're welcome.
But note that word over, not fix what I'm saying, but over. Now I don't remember what I was saying. So
yeah. I know. Sorry. Anyway, can we just say it's like it's just ignorant,
Well, and so what I hope somebody can take away from this is it's beautiful that they want to come and say, Ashley, are you okay? That is absolutely from a good place in somebody's heart. But maybe, like, what I'm trying to do is challenge people, and sometimes it does come off harshly, to think about something else. This is what you've been saying, respond, but can you stop for a moment?
1 second. I lost you. I lost you.
Did I? So I think you
either
froze up, but it may have been me.
Okay, so you were just making a very dramatic point.
Okay. Stop and think, maybe this person, Paul, which is my body name, is doing something that's hard, but not tragic, that this is saving their own life. It's hard for the people to walk through around them, but God damn it, let's applaud people who do hard things, and maybe not go into the like, oh, this is so tragic in somebody else's life.
So, okay. I mean, I don't.
You're gonna fix what I just said now, are you?
Well, because I feel like everything that you just said, I understand what you're saying. I agree. And I just think it's an and. I don't think it's a do this, not that. It's like in the middle of, another person processing what they're hearing on channel 47, they have a reaction, they reach out to me, they're concerned for me. It's just an and can we ask people to see the authentic hard work that you're doing and value that, and as what it's an and. I also want us to say, like, we all just need each other, we all just need each other, and I would hate for somebody to be concerned about not showing up in the right way or like doing the right thing, like just show up would be the thing, and realize that you may show up wrong, and that's okay. How many thousands of fucking times have I done that? How many thousands of times have I not shown up? Like just show up and realize it's a process. You need to be open to other people's experiences and input, and like we all just kind of get there together. And I think that was a really hard lesson. That is a hard lesson for me to learn, because I was raised that you had to be perfect, and you had to get the Jesus Bible bullets just right, and you had to walk a certain way. You couldn't be messy. You couldn't accept other people's mess. If it did come in messy, boy, you better judge it. You better correct it and turn. I think I'm just trying to shake all that off.
I think you're trying to protect people from me. I think you feel like you have to fix it for people out there, when sometimes I think it's okay for people to have to sit with a hard truth.
Okay.
That what they did out of the best of their heart to reach out to you, which is wonderful, hurt me. That is a fact, and it's okay to let people sit with that and mull over, oh, then what does, how should I see this differently? We don't have to make it okay for everybody. We don't have to fix it. I totally understand what you're saying, but this is a part of the dynamic of our relationship. Is Ashley's like, oh, I got to fix what Paul said. I've got to make it okay for people so that Paul will be palatable. And sometimes I think it's okay for baskets to get turned over and people to have to think about, okay, what do I put back in the basket, and maybe what should I take out? It's just a fundamental difference, I think, of how we approach, some of the things we deal with internally.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that. And like the puzzle pieces that are you and me, that have been inappropriately like kind of overgrown or whatever, and then that power struggle and tension um that has created pain over time, consistent and kind of like chronic pain. It's like learning how those puzzle pieces fit together, or like I now changing metaphors, like the teeth of wheels that turn, like that is I think that's what we're trying to learn, because we value the way our wheels turn, and we do make the overall, like mechanism of our family turn.
For me, some of the most life-changing moments have been when somebody says something that I go, wait, that is so fucking unfair, what you just said. That is so, it's the not all Christians thing I hear all the time. Not all Christians are like what you say. Yeah, the second I say not all Christians, every Christian out there says, oh, whew, good, he's not talking about me. Thank goodness I'm the Cinderella in the story. But there have been times when people have challenged my whiteness or my maleness, and I've been like, wait, that is so fucking unfair. That is not me. You don't know me. Stop that. That then I had to sit back and go, maybe there is something there that I'm not aware of. And it took this drink my blood, eat my flesh moment without context that didn't give me permission to allow myself an out from the information I was being faced with. And so anyway, and I'm not saying I'm 100% right here, or you're 100% wrong.
Yeah,
I just think
both
it is
things live.
okay. It is okay
Yeah.
for people
Yeah.
to be like, I can't believe Paul fucking said that. I was just trying to be kind, Yeah,
Right.
I know you were, but can you think about sometimes our, intent versus impact thing?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's right. And that's it. That's the point. It's the both and. That is true. And and somebody gets to say, what the fuck, Paul? That's a fucking ridiculous thing to say. And then you like work it back and forth, and then you learn, because we need each other.
Yeah.
We need each other. We don't show up perfect. We just show up, and then we hurt each other a whole lot. And then we go, but we don't want to hurt each other, and we work through it. And then we have healing, and we have, true community together.
So and we're over time, and we got to go because we've got company coming.
Brunch coming.
But I did look through some of my therapeutic materials on the subject that I wish I had gotten to earlier. But the thing to do when somebody comes to this moment, and my well-being, pursuing my well-being is going to be painful for somebody around me. I looked at, these suggestions, like don't shrink, like don't come and like I am, as much as possible, don't go like I'm so guilty for doing this, but rather you can come with empathy. There's the I'm just going to keep it real, and I'm going to vomit all over the table. Sometimes that has to happen. We've had those moments that have been healthy for us. But as much as possible, don't shrink, because then you're going to bring your guilt into it, and you're going to have to start defending yourself. But I think what's most important that I liked in this, it says, name the dynamic without judgment. Like this is what's happening right now.
That's good. Mm-hmm.
And it gave an example of like, it seems like something about my joy or this new chapter of my life is hard for you. I don't want to pretend I'm not growing just to stay connected, but I also want to understand what's coming up for you.
Oh,
so
those
that's
are good words.
Yeah. So it opens the door to hearing the pain of somebody with you without
Yes. Yes.
denying your own truth.
And it honors the relationship, it honors it's like the hallway, it keeps it's like you're opening the door, you're in different rooms and you're opening the door and you're like, hey, we have a hallway, we are connected. um and I'm in this different room, so like yeah, I love that. I think
Yeah.
that is really helpful.
And the final thing is, then let the other person do their work and
Yeah.
trust
Yeah.
their humanity. If they respond with projection or manipulation or expulsive anger,
Hmm.
that's not yours to carry. That's theirs to carry. And we like, oh, wait, I want to fix it. I want to fix it. I want to fix it. But no, just say, okay, if that's the way you need to react, I'm going to let you react that way because
I wonder
that's
what
what you
that would
need.
be like. Like, I can't relate to someone who responds with manipulation or explosive anger. I mean, I'm sure there are those people.
Yeah, they exist out there truly, but none
Hey,
of us have ever met any of
hey,
them.
we
So,
we got to go because the eggs are
yeah,
not going to scramble themselves. The biscuits aren't going to bake themselves.
the
We got to
steak is
go.
not
The steak is not going to
not
cook
gonna
itself.
steak itself. So yes, so I'm gonna go get eaten by mosquitoes so that our guests
Not the
and
little
children can
thing.
live.
The little mosquito eater has been on for like
Okay.
2 hours, so hopefully it sucked all the mosquitoes in the entire city into it.
Well,
As
thank you all
advertised.
for letting us do self therapy, self couples therapy today.
Oh my
Thank you
God.
all.
It's been two of these shows. We need to like totally talk about other people next week. I'm tired of talking about myself.
Yeah.
We do have some guests coming up. Like we're gonna kind of get back on the guest pony
Yeah.
here and ride.
Okay, we're gonna go.